In early April 2025, American writer Thomas Friedman published an opinion piece in the New York Times titled "I Just Show the Future, It's Not in America." In this article, Friedman spoke about his impressions of his recent visit to China, during which he was amazed by the amazing technological progress China has achieved in recent years, especially when he entered Huawei's huge new research center built on an area of 1.6 million square meters, which includes laboratories and facilities that can accommodate approximately 35,000 workers, engineers, and scientists. So, the witness is that Friedman mentioned in this article that he met in Beijing an American businessman who has been worked in China for decades, and this man said a word that caught his attention a lot. He told him that a long time ago people who wanted to see the future world looked like went to America, but today anyone who wants to see the future comes to China. This statement is not really an exaggeration at all. China, contrary to what is known about it as a nation of imitation, has today become more advanced than the entire world in various important types of future technologies, such as the electric car technology that China has developed in the last 20 years in the automotive sector. The most accurate description of it is the revolution of China's condition and its relations with the West in this particular sector. China, which used to grovel to West for a long time in order to learn from it, the automobile industry has completely changed. Today, European companies, led by German companies, are running after it in order to learn from it the latest technologies in battery manufacturing and electric cars, which are considered the most modern in their kind in the world. German engineers who used mocked the Chinese for a long time are now tricking them into teaching them and sharing with them the latest technologies. How did this revolution happen in just 2 decades? How did China surprise Germans, Americans, and Japanese technologies? Why is it so difficult for anyone to catch up in China? This is a part we will discuss together today. In today's video, I am Al-Silawi from Al-Silawi Economy Pro. In September 2007, the Frankfurt Motor Show in Germany, which is considered one of the largest car shows in the world, began. At this conference, a big quarrel broke out between the Germans and Chinese because of one of the cars that were displayed at the show. The story in short, is that German importer named Karl Schlossel, something like that, went to China to import a CEO model car manufactured by Chinese company Shuangguang Automobile. He brought it and placed it in the showroom of the famous German brand BMW. When they saw the Chinese car at the show, they went crazy and got angry and accused the Chinese who made the CEO of stealing their designs and making their car as a copy for the BMW X5. According to the statements of the car specialists at that time, The back of the car, or the rear part of it, was a copy of the back of the BMW X5, while this car, or the front part of it, was inspired from the set of Land Cruiser. The important thing is that the officials at BMW, led by Norbert Rutherford, the CEO of the German company at that time, were upset by the things that the Chinese did and felt that this matter would not pass well. On this basis, BMW filed a lawsuit against Shuangwan Chinese car manufacturer is before a German court to prevent it from selling its car in Germany. BMW took this court step even though its car did not represent a strong threat to it, given the large difference in capabilities between its car and the Chinese cars imitated by the Chinese. At that time, they loved the car industry and were decades behind the Germans in this industry, but at the same time, they were keeping to develop themselves and enhance their expertise, and through imitation and through joint projects that they were working with their Western counterparts in their local market. The Chinese market is a huge market, as you know, and any company in the world wants to be present there and display its products in a place where nearly 1.5 billion people live. This, of course, applies to Western car companies such as Volkswagen, Mercedes, Toyota, Ford, General Motors, and others. The Chinese government was using the attractiveness of the Chinese market as a huge market to bargain with Western companies to open joint projects with the Chinese companies on Chinese soil or Chinese land. Within the framework of these subjects, it teaches Chinese engineers and transfers technology to them. I believe that the country that cooperates most with China in joint projects of this type is Germany, and this was reflected in its sales of German cars companies in the Chinese market until recently. Volkswagen was the German brand that sold most in China. The Chinese first contracted Volkswagen in 1978, and 6 years later the German company entered the Chinese market through a partnership with SAIC Motor. This was beginning of the Chinese learning journey from the Germans. What is striking in this context is that the Chinese, as long as they are learning from the Germans, have been very keen to show humility and hide ambition in order to reassure the German companies and encourage them to cooperate with their Chinese counterparts. In October 2009, the German newspaper Der Spiegel reported statements by Wang Zhaohua, the general manager of the Chinese company SAIC Motors, in which he said to the Germans to reassure them that Chinese companies are not superior to them. A servant cannot replace his master. The same person who said this sentence is today the chairman of the board of directors of the same company, SAIC Motors, which is now one of the largest car companies in the world and which sold cars more than 105 billion in 2023. By the way, the article in Der Spiegel that we will talk about here advised German companies not to be too confident in the Chinese statements and reassurance circulating around them. It's very far from the competitive. This is probably why BMW took the story of the sidecar, which was a copy car of the BMW X5, seriously and filed a lawsuit against the Chinese. This case was decided months later, specifically in June 2008, and the court ruled in favor of BMW, while the German importer of the car was obligated to stop sales of this car in Germany and destroy the existing copies there. The days and years passed and BMW found itself completely in opposite position with China. This time the Chinese are far ahead of the Germans in electric car technology. Specifically, BMW and other German companies want to enter into joint projects with Chinese companies to learn from them. In March 2025, BMW entered into a partnership with the Chinese Alibaba to help it to develop software for driving cars using artificial intelligence. The Germans' goal in this partnership is to try to close the current technological gap between them and the Chinese auto companies and the most innovative auto company in the world currently, BYD, which, despite being a relatively new company, succeeded in turning the auto market upside down in China and the world. Days before this agreement, BMW was in a partnership with the Chinese Huawei to transfer Huawei's technology in its cars starting in 2026. This is also a goal of catching up with BYD and its Chinese allies, which are far ahead of them, whether in software or battery technology. This clear reversal and exchange of rules that occurred between the Chinese and Germans over 2 decades was spoken about by the senior executive in a German car company. In recent statements to the Financial Times, this man refused to reveal his name to the British newspaper. He said a long time ago the Chinese did not have any ideas of their own. They were just imitators. Then he said that he was recently presented with a list of the advantages of this company operating system that it wanted to develop and include in its cars in the future. He notes that the advantages of this system were identical point by point and letter by letter to advantages already revealed by Chinese companies worked in electric car industry. This means that the thing they want to do in the future already exists with the Chinese today. Then he said, bitterly, we have a full circle. This means in colloquial terms That's how the days went by. And we remained in the place of the Chinese and they remained in our place. This is largely true. The difference between Chinese companies and other foreign companies anywhere in the world, including Germany, is already large and expanding terrifyingly. In light of the inability of foreigners to keep up with development and innovation in the Chinese market, you know that the average every 2 days in China a new model comes to the market. Yes, you heard that right. Every 2 days a new car. This matter is very clear, for example, in the competition between Tesla and BYD in the Chinese market as of in 2020. Tesla has launched 4 powerful and updated new models in the Chinese market. During the same period, BYD launched about 130 models. This terrifying pace has made it difficult for most companies, especially foreign ones, to keep up with the development taking place. The Chinese electric car market in technologies such as batteries, smart assistant system, infotainment system, and others. For this reason, it was not surprised at all that the share of foreign companies in the Chinese market declined in the first 2 months of 2025 to 31%, which is its lowest level in the history. Chinese companies, which has no significant presence 20 years ago, today control more than 2/3 of the largest car markets in the world. This is, of course, at the expense of foreign companies that have lost the bone-breaking war taking place in the Chinese market and are also on their way to lose a large part of their global markets to Chinese companies that have many advantages over them, whether in technology or cost. For example, the Chinese BYD, it shocks the global car market last February when it announced that its advanced drive system called Jadzai that will be available for free on all its car models. This decision has sent BYD's stock skyrocketing and caused the stock of many other car companies such as Tesla to fall. Why? In short, BYD drive assistance system is very advanced and provides the driver with many features not available on regular cars, such as remoting parking, adaptive cruise control, automatic lane keeping, obstacles avoidance, emergency braking, traffic jam assistance, highway maneuvers, a multi-layer sensor network, and other features that will make you feel like you are driving a spaceship. Car companies in the electric car market such as Tesla and others also have a drive assistance system like BYD, although it's not advanced, but they do not give it away for free. Rather, they make it for a lot of money. It costs $8,000 and its subscription is $99 per month. This makes It's a major source of revenue for the American company BYD. It was also able to earn billions of dollars from its driver assistance system, especially after its sales exceeded Tesla sales. However, it decided to feed the poor and decided to make it available on all models, even cheap models such as Seagull, which cost only $9,500, while most of BYD's competitors do not. This system is available in expensive models. BYD, as the world's leader in the electric car industry today, is on its way to winning over its competitors, whether Chinese or foreigners, to provide a driver assistance system so that after a year it will remain a normal thing in any car, such as seatbelts. Competitors who have for years considered the advanced drive system a significant source of income, over time have no solution left for them other than making the system available to their customers at a cheap price, otherwise will lose their markets to BYD, which is already ahead of them in terms of cost and technology. The important thing is that after this bold move, BYD quickly shook the markets for the second time when it announced a new charging system for its electric car batteries called the Super E platform, which is capable of charging its car batteries in just 5 minutes. A charge time covers 470 kilometers. This is an amazing development, and this means that the problem of the long charging time that was a major obstacle to the spread of the electric cars on its way to increasing. 5 minutes is roughly the same time it takes you to fill up the gas or at a gas station until you fill your car with a benzene. So now is the time between BYD and its competitor. Tesla, for example, its charging system allows the car battery to be charged in 15 minutes with a charge travels 320 kilometers. This is a huge difference between the two, and for this reason, as soon as BYD revealed the developments it had achieved in fast charging technologies, Tesla shares fell on the stock exchange. The same applies to the German compact sedan that Mercedes-Benz recently revealed, which is a CLA model. It takes 10 minutes to charge with the charge travel 325 kilometers. Perhaps BYD's strongest competitor in this field is the Chinese battery giant CATL. A few days ago, CATL revealed a new version of its charging batteries that can be charged in just 5 minutes with a charge that travels the car 520 kilometers 520 kilometers. CATL and BYD innovations in this field of batteries and fast charging enable the Chinese to further control the electric car industry. Both companies have a huge portfolio of patents and intellectual property rights that are unmatched in size or quality by any car company in the world, including Tesla. BYD comes out every day with a new invention on the market, and perhaps one of the latest features developed by the company is cooperating with DDI, uh, a company specializing in the manufacture of drones or unmanned aerial vehicles to develop a drone that uses the roof of the car as a launching platform and records an aerial view of the car with its surroundings. The developing of Chinese technology will make it very difficult for Western companies to try to catch up China in this industry. The optimal solution with the European Union has recently resorted to is to negotiate with China to transfer Chinese technology to them by entering into companies with them through which they learn from Chinese, similar to the companies that the Chinese have been working with them for a long time. These companies can be done according to agreements at the government level or at the company level with them. For example, in July 2023, the German Volkswagen entered into a joint project with the Chinese Xpeng so that Germans engineers can learn smart driving technologies from the Chinese counterparts. This is the same thing that Mercedes is doing to the partnership with the Geely and Volkswagen with Tesla, which is actually difficult to happen. What is happening is truly difficult for many European executives who still live in the illusion of the overwhelming superiority of Western technology. In statements to the Financial Times, one European executive said that it is difficult for many people to adapt to the new reality of innovation in China, describing this as a kind of arrogance or naivety, as he put it. In this estimation, this is due to the belief that only liberal societies are capable of producing a true innovation in the same context. Christoph Weber, head of the Swiss Autoform Group, businessman in China, said that Western companies have tried more than once to develop competitive software and have failed miserably. These companies, according to them, are not emotionally receptive to Chinese rise. After a period of time, he continued his speech, saying there are people who believe that we can still postpone confronting reality. These people ignore the fact that electric car technology has already imposed itself and that the area of software-driven car is inevitably coming. And that the era of the software-driven car is inevitably coming. These words that the Americans most need to understand, specifically the administrations of the US President Donald Trump, which has effectively banned Chinese electric cars from entering the US market. The Great Wall that America is building around its domestic car market will not bother the Chinese a lot, but at the same time it will cause a great damage to the American markets in the medium and long term, represented by the keeping American companies technologically behind others by protecting them excessively from competitions with China. The current leader of the electric car industry for this reason, John Lawler, the American former vice president and chief financial officer chief financial officer of Ford, describes the European Union's approach in trying to learn from China and transfer technology from it to the European markets as a realistic approach. In the same context, the man says that we must recognize that the Chinese are the leaders of the electric vehicle industry and the leaders of the battery industry, and there are many things that we can learn from them. We must be pragmatic and understand that we are not able to withdraw and close our eyes to reality, because this does not change anything. This is very true. The Americans are far behind the Chinese in these industries, and the matter that has reached the point that the Chinese are currently afraid of their technology being stolen by the Americans. The Chinese BYD was supported to agree with the Mexican government to build a huge car factory in Mexico, but we learned that the Chinese government but we know that the Chinese government intervened and delayed the procedures for building this factory. Therefore, fear of the therefore I'm so sorry. For fearing of the leakage of the Chinese smart car technology to the Americans, who are today very behind China, today standing very far place behind China. The situation has been reversed, and since the relationship between America and China has changed dramatically. At this point, make us reach the today video question. I have many mistakes today. Sorry, please. At this point, make us reach our today video question, which is when we will have a BYD car here in America. I will follow your answers in the comments at the end. If you enjoyed this video and want to see us more, so subscribe to this channel and be tuned for the next videos, and goodbye.